Hello again, grade 12s, carrying on with agriculture today. So we're looking now at factors that favour and hinder agriculture in South Africa. So first up, what is good for agriculture in South Africa is that we have a range of climates from high summer rainfall, more sort of tropical on the eastern coast, right the way to a dry summer rainfall, dry area with summer rainfall and cold winters in the interior, through to milder temperatures and winter rainfall in the Western Cape. So this variety makes it possible for us to have so many different agricultural products in Southern Africa. If we have a look at this map over here on the right-hand side, it's almost an even gradient from KwaZulu-Natal on the east coast all the way through to the west coast of our country as the rainfall gets less. Remember the reasoning for this? On the east coast, we have the warm Mozambican current, which influences the amount of water vapor in the air, and on the west coast, we have the cold Benguela current. Another positive for agriculture in South Africa is that most of our arable areas have at least 200 frost-free days, which allows for quite a long growing season. Much of South Africa or Southern Africa is flatter or has low hills, especially in the interior, and this definitely suits traditional intensive crop farming and cattle rearing, as well as the bigger extensive farming practices. Soil on the eastern side of our country is more acidic, which is good for shrubs like tea, and towards the interior it's a more neutral type of soil, which is good for crop cultivation and grazing of livestock. We call this interior sort of type region temperate grasslands. The introduction also of very successful exotic crops such as maize have been beneficial as it's got a very high yield. It produces a lot of food per hectare. And the last really good thing for agriculture in Southern Africa or South Africa is trade with the European Union. Many of our agricultural products, including canned fruit, wine, and even some dairy products, are greatly in demand. Bear in mind that during our big growing season in summertime, the European countries in the Northern Hemisphere are in winter, so importing our agricultural products just makes sense. Then what hinders agriculture in Southern Africa? Only 13% of the land that we have is actually arable. Another 65% can be used for different other kinds of agriculture. Poverty really limits agricultural development. Most countries in Southern Africa cannot afford to build fancy new irrigation systems and so on. They can't use fertilizers and insecticides. So without some of these, the poverty itself is actually self-perpetuating. It just keeps going. Soils are very thin in some regions, and a lot of the soil has been damaged. Huge pieces of farmland have been ruined by farmers who've overexploited the soil. In some areas, agricultural potential is now less than it's ever been. Next up, having said that climate is an advantage, the fact that most of Southern Africa is water scarce is definitely a hindrance to agriculture in some places and during certain periods in time. Remember El Nino from grade 11? While El Nino is happening in Southern Africa, we have less rainfall than normal. So more challenges facing South African agriculture. The biggest one is inequality. We've spoken about our dual farming practices. Firstly, the large-scale extensive commercial farms, and on the other hand, many South Africans are operating on small subsistence farms in areas that were once former homelands. And most of these are also using traditional, simple implements and have very little arable land. So what has caused the poverty in these rural areas? And here are a couple of the suggestions. First up is people in the former homelands earn a low income, so they don't have the capital to invest in more productive farming methods or to ramp it up to be commercial. Too many people have to share the same available land. There are inadequate support services. So, for example, education on better farming methods often doesn't happen, or if it does, it doesn't really reach those who need it most. Land degradation is common. That's soil degradation. So it's overuse of the land for many years, and it's impoverished and eroded the soil. Food security. There's a definition here. Food security exists when all people at all times have enough food to meet the needs for a healthy and productive life. Contrary to that, food insecurity exists when people live in fear of hunger and starvation. So in South Africa, we do have food security and we have enough food for the people. In reality, however, many South Africans don't have enough food to eat, or they don't have the right food. And some estimates say that as much as 15% of our population live with food insecurity. So the factors that influence this in South Africa: physical factors, we've spoken about drought and our low rainfall. Climate change, the same thing, and El Nino also reduces our rainfall. Poor soil quality, soil erosion, degradation of the land. Then economic factors, unemployment, that's a huge one that ties up with poverty and then speaks to food insecurity. And even people who are suffering from malnutrition may not be healthy enough to be able to keep a stable job. Very sad state of affairs. So the social factors are our population is increasing at a great rate, and our ability to produce food not so much. HIV/AIDS has been the curse of this continent for many years, and it seems that the worst affected are the poorer rural areas. Also, it's normally the economically active portion of the population who are killed by this epidemic, so it leaves old people and children to look after the subsistence farms. Then we also have malaria and tuberculosis, which threaten the capacity of rural small-scale farmers to maintain their output of food. And that's it. Thank you.